Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Mountain. And today I'm going to do some bench press in the garage. I'm going to do some back. I'm going to do some biceps and stuff. And I might have to pull the car out and do a couple other things. But one thing I want to talk to you a little bit about today is how taking a break from progressive overload in certain exercises can work for you, right? So one mistake that a lot of times, beginners make, but also intermediate and advanced people make too, is that they get hyper fixated on always chasing the numbers. And we've talked about this at length in here. But one thing that happens is that people will get obsessed with getting stronger in a certain lift. And that's all great. That's all fine. I've talked about this at length when it comes down to progressive overload also being important, putting on some strength and then repping out with that strength and how that can really work for you. But it's also important to spend periods of time or maybe do certain exercises where you follow the feeling, not necessarily the numbers, because the feeling will tell you exactly what's going on way more than the numbers will, right? And as a standard example is like, say I'm lifting a certain weight and then I start swinging the weight. Did I get stronger? No. I mean, there's a possibility I'm using momentum or I'm using an adjusted form in order to accomplish lifting the weight, but it doesn't necessarily mean I've gotten stronger or even put the tension on the chosen muscles I want to use. So a big part of bodybuilding is discerning when you're chasing numbers and also when you're chasing the feeling, or when you're at least following the experience in the muscle and knowing the difference between the two. One isn't necessarily wrong, and I've talked about this at length. Sometimes cheat reps and stuff are also good. But if you're noticing that your physique is developing a certain way, then yeah, perhaps there is an adjustment, or at least one piece of the puzzle or one variable you want to incorporate into your training. Like say, for instance, with chest, like say you notice that your chest is lagging behind, and you notice that also doing an isolation movement such as pec flies, when you try to do progressive overload with that, it starts to just put more pressure on your tendons in your shoulders and so forth. But when you go lighter, it feels better somehow. Maybe that's the right thing for you to do for that particular exercise. And so what I'm trying to say is that applying one size fits all to all exercises can limit you instead of help you. So that's why sometimes you want to adjust what your main priority is with certain exercises based on the exercise's limitations and benefits. And that's really my point, Hopefully that helps you. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't even help you. I don't even know why I talk or even make these videos. Let's do a warm-up. Yeah, so sometimes you will go back and forth. Sometimes you will train for purposes of efficiency to lift more. Then other times, there is a combination of both that goes on, but let's just say there's more dominance at other times on where are you feeling the tension. I mean, are you feeling, not just are you not feeling the tension in the joints as far as, creating an injury for yourself, but are you actually feeling it in the muscle that you desire to grow, like the main muscle group that you want to, cause some sort of stimulation in? Are you feeling the exercise in that? And through, the blend of these two principles, dominance on maybe progressive overload sometimes, or sometimes dominance on the feeling of the exercise, like how you experience it. You only through finding the sweet spot in there can you really start to call yourself a bodybuilder, or at least get bodybuilding results. So yeah, always remember like to reset back into the feeling aspect of this whole bodybuilding thing. And that also pertains to your diet, right? Because if you're eating and you're noticing certain foods make you feel a certain way, you get a certain, like you'll notice certain foods, you get better pumps in the gym, more well-being, and also better performance. I mean, you know, you hit the ball out of the park when you're getting better performance and better, a better look in the muscle and a better pump and better feeling. I mean, those are moments where you make these eureka type of discoveries, right? And then from there, like for instance, one of mine is that if I have a good amount of protein in the morning, like 50 grams of protein or something, I notice that my pump is better in my workout later on. Like say I work out an hour after I eat, my workout is better as far as the pump and the well-being in the muscle. Whereas if I just eat, you know, a bunch of carbs or don't eat at all, you know, like say I have a high carb meal with really low protein, or I don't eat at all. I mean, I always eat, but just in case, you know, I discovered to always eat because of this. If I don't eat, then I notice that I don't have a good feeling in the body and the performance is also down, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to encourage people, and you see all the advanced bodybuilders, they all do this, but I'm trying to encourage people to bring the feeling into what you're doing, you know, like pay attention to the sensations more so, definitely more so than your idea or your template or your goal. And sometimes even the performance of numbers. If you feel like crap, but you're getting stronger, but your body's breaking down, what's the point, right? So you have to bring in that experience of the body in order to make the right decisions, and a deeper connection to that and a deeper understanding of those experiences will help give you the wisdom in the moment as you need it, right? Like say for instance, you were deficient in calcium and you knew what that felt like, you would need to have to go through a bunch of drama for months on end. You just would take some more calcium once you felt deficient in calcium, right? It's an instantaneous fix to a problem. So on the bodybuilding path, the greatest part about it is if you choose to make it into an awareness building path, yeah, you can start to become a master of a lot of different variables that you never even thought possible. And yeah, it all starts with knowing or feeling your way through an exercise. Feeling what's happening, feeling where are these tensions taking place, right? What is actually happening? What muscles am I using in the movement, you know? So what you're going to find over the years of training that you're probably going to put in, or maybe you already have, is that a lot of your greatest discoveries are going to happen through sensory perception, right? It's not like you just all of a sudden make huge amount of gains, you know, in 1 month, and there's no sensations that precede that, right? You might be eating more, and then you feel the pump that precedes the results. And I mentioned this before in a video, but basically you'll start to get so in tune with your body that you'll start to feel the type of pump or the type of experience in the muscle that precedes muscular growth, right? There's a certain type of well-being that suffuses the body. Now, I'm not saying it's there all the time, but you can use this as a bit of a carrot, right? Or a bit of a compass sometimes to lead you through what you're doing with your diet, what you're doing with your sleep, and your training. So, you know, some things that I noticed, right? When I squat 4 plates, I noticed that my body feels more pumped up and anabolic the next day everywhere, right? And I followed that feeling and then made more results based on that. I know that certain forms of stimulation seem to stimulate my entire system, right? And then of course there's the subtler forms of stimulation which have to do with ranges of motion or angles of attack with a certain exercise. And through trying and experimenting with these different types of angles or different types of exercises, sometimes I'll stumble across that feeling, right? That feeling that I'm looking for. And then once I feel that, I'm like, okay, here we go. I found it. I got it. And it's like being tuned in. And then from there, the results follow. So this is an amazing part about this entire journey. It's a constant discovery and an expansion of your own perception. And this perception it can lead you down some different rabbit holes, you know, when it comes down to what works for your health and what doesn't work. But that's really what it's about. And yeah, just embrace that. You know what I mean? Embrace that. That's a big part of it. So if you're ignorant around certain things, don't worry about that, because part of this path is not just about getting stronger, but it's also about growing in perception. So let's do another set here. So this is an example of using my awareness to decide what I'm going to do with a particular exercise, right? So I could do easily heavier weight for flies than 50-pound dumbbells. But what I'm noticing is that I start to recruit a lot of other muscles once I start to go too heavy with the fly, right? So sometimes it seems counterintuitive that using more weight is working against you, right? Because for the most part, as bodybuilders, we're trying to get stronger and use bigger weight. But when you're looking to isolate a certain muscle, obviously you want to isolate the muscle. That becomes the main priority. And if you're recruiting other muscles, or at least too much of the other muscles when you're using heavier weight, then obviously the isolation is not necessarily isolating what it is you want to isolate. So in this case, I feel the chest more when I'm doing moderately lighter weight. Once I get heavier, then I start to recruit the shoulders quite a bit. And that could be also compounded by my, shoulder issues from the past from playing hockey and stuff. So the delts do have a tendency to get over stimulated or over engaged in certain movements. So in an attempt to offset that, I may choose a lighter weight and just rep out after I've done my main compound lift with heavy weight or moderate weight. Like I was doing lighter weight today with just 225 on the bench. But yeah, doing lighter weight sometimes feels better. So I'm following the feeling, right? This is following the feeling, not necessarily the numbers. And that's where it can be pretty important. Now, when I come down lower than this, I feel like a lot of the delts come in. People think that you're automatically stretching the chest more, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, like I can feel the joint capsule right here when I do this. And of course, I'm doing like a hybrid type fly, right? I like doing the hybrid fly because it protects the shoulder joint with the arms slightly bent, and I feel this the most. If I straighten the arms, I just get lots of bicep tendon issues and shoulder issues. So you have to find your way through feeling yourself through the exercise, feeling the muscle, right? Yeah, so sometimes you're also doing exercises for different purposes. Like say with an isolation movement, you might be doing it just because you want to establish more mind-muscle connection with the muscle. And that could be accomplished through slow reps, fast reps, like whatever it is that seems to work for you. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a absolute effort type set. Sometimes they're almost like rehabilitation sets, you could say, almost like part proprioception, part calibration type of exercises. So not all exercises have to be take that muscle to absolute exhaustion. Sometimes there's calibration exercises, and then you might go back into, super ball busting sort of hard effort exercises after. It's up to you. So yeah, the exercises don't all have the same category. Some are isolation, some are hypertrophy, some are more strength based. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules about it, but you may choose one to be the main priority, one value, right? And then you start to put the exercises into certain places in your training because they fulfill a great need or purpose, So yeah, I find with dumbbell flies, they're not the safest movement, honestly. So I like to do them conservatively, and they're more like a calibration type exercise for me. I find that I can't take them to absolute failure. I find they're not necessarily the most comfortable for me to do that on the joints and stuff. So that's why I use them more as a calibration type movement. This is the third time trying to film this clip. I don't know what happened here with the sound and all that. Anyway, what I'm going to say is sometimes you may notice that you have trouble activating a certain part or certain muscle or certain part of a muscle and so forth, right? So upper chest is a standard issue for most people. There's some people that are genetically blessed in that area, but a lot of people have trouble accessing the upper chest. So they'll do incline work and they'll do various type of work on the chest muscle. But the bottom line is that sometimes something really simple can help you. And that is something you saw me do today. I did flat bench. I did flat flies, right? Which is like an isolation exercise for chest. Then I went to incline. So it's like a glorified pre-exhaustion in some way. But we could try to figure out why I feel the upper chest more after doing the flat bench and the flat flies. But it could be a couple different reasons. One is maybe my front delts are exhausted so much that my body's trying to recruit the chest to do the work on the incline now. Or it could be that my chest is exhausted, so therefore it is hitting failure first when I'm doing the incline press. But whatever the reason, it doesn't really matter. It's only the logical mind that it matters to. But if I follow the feeling, I can see and experience that this is working for some reason. I'll let logic culminate at some point. I'll let it stew, and at some point the logic of why will come to me. But most importantly, I'm following the feeling, and that's what creates a deeper experience. And in the end, you learn which experiences lead to more muscle and more strength. And more well-being in the body. That's the most important thing. So let's do another set of inclines. And yeah, I'll get back at you. Now I'm not getting as many reps, but that's okay because exhaustion of the muscle is what I'm after, and mission accomplished, right? So there you go. That's how you do it. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys out in your training. I hope this has helped expand your own awareness in your own training. And thanks a lot for watching. And if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgalantbodybuilding.com. And thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.